So in 1882, Congress passed what might be called the first comprehensive immigration law, in which it excluded Chinese from immigrating to the United States, and then it prevented Chinese from becoming American citizens. It actually illustrates one of the tensions that occur throughout the American history from its beginning. Well, that tension has always been there. It's illustrated in the Chinese case that after we have built this railroad because we needed laborers, we bring in immigrants or people from another country. 14 years later, we then try to kick them all out.
Following the passage of the 1882 Act, the Chinese contribution to our country began to be forgotten or neglected, or maybe consciously excluded from our memory. By the early 20th century, not many people thought about this or even realized these things had happened. And in 1969, perhaps the biggest snub occurred at the Centennial of the completion of the railroad.
A representative of the Historical Society was invited to be at that May 10th ceremony at Promontory. That individual was Phil Choi. So there was a lot of anticipation and a feeling that, took 100 years, but we're finally going to get our just recognition. He gets to the ceremony and then he's told, "Oh, we are sorry, Mr. Choi, but we have taken you off the program because the program just doesn't have enough time." But then he had to sit through the keynote speaker, who was then the Department of Transportation Secretary, John Volpe, who said, "Who else but Americans could drill 10 tunnels in mountains 30 feet deep in snow? Who else but Americans could chisel through miles of solid granite?" The snub in 1969 inspired a number of people to try to make it right.
In 2011 and 2012, we got both the Senate and the House to agree to resolutions that talk about, we'll actually put it into the official record then, the congressional record, the history of Chinese migration here, their contributions to the country, and the reactions which the United States had to them.
Another part of the effort was that at the appropriate milestone or celebrations, that our stories, the Chinese story, was covered, would be voiced.
The group's consensus was we couldn't just drop it. You had to form something that continued to tell the story